And we're live. Hi and welcome everybody for the SUSE QE Tools Workshop this week. The topic for today will be about a new feature that we recently added to openQA, and I call it Override openQA job results with special comments. So this is a feature which we added recently. It's accessible over the comments field of openQA, and it's described there in the help, accessible over the UI as well as the API. And I hope that with that it can give you, when reviewing tests, one more additional handle to address failures to incorporate in workflows. How that is to be incorporated into workflows, that's something for discussion, and I hope that we can also discuss it here in the workshop, how useful you see that feature, how you think that could be incorporated, or even if you think that we cannot or should not use that. So can you see my shared screen and also my webcam? Is it clearly readable for you?
Yep, I can see it.
Oh, good, thank you. Now, to demonstrate the feature, I will go to openQA OpenSUSE.org. Let's see. So basically, the feature is about changing the result, and for that, maybe the most interesting example is changing a failed result into something else. So let's see. I know that the openQA and openQA tests just since yesterday show some sporadic failures, and very likely these failures are linked to a problem in QEMU or the ecosystem around QEMU in Leap 15.3, because we just upgraded the O3 workers to Leap 15.3 according with QEMU and other dependencies. And this is why it fails here. So I know for sure it's not an openQA. Well, I know pretty clearly that most likely what we see here as a failure is not an openQA bug per se, but we want to test openQA here. So I would like to mark that failure as some kind of false positive, right? And actually, I realize now that I can also present you immediately a second feature. So thanks to our recently joined team colleague Moritz Kolitek, we have now not only a clickable build header, but also you have the clickable build bar sections here. So what you can do, you can click here, and that would go immediately to the filtered results. So let's try that out. If I click here on the one failed, what you see is the test overview page showing you not all the jobs, but just the failed jobs. So this is already one thing which could make life easier for you. If I would like to go back to all results from here, then of course I can also unclick that filter, and you see that there are more job results. Now let's go into that shutdown failure, shall we? And if you take a look, this job failed 5 hours ago. It was on one of the workers, and basically what we see is a black screen here, a red border around, and failed. Why is it failed? Well, the test tells us test died, machine didn't shut down. At least it did not shut down in the usual time that we expect here. So what we do is basically we wait up to 5 minutes, which is already a lot. But in that 5 minutes, the machine did not shut down. If I take a look into the history, then I can see that in the same scenario, we had two incompletes failing for different reasons, but this is out of scope for here. We saw that in between something was fine, and it already failed 22 hours ago. If we take a look in the previous days, that we can see that, that it failed a day ago and 2 days ago, but Oh, actually 3 days ago, 4 days ago. Yeah, okay, actually I see it that it was sporadic failing sometime in before. I think because we updated openQA Worker 4 already earlier than the others, and depending on where we end up with the tests, we see that intermittent failure. And now what we can do is we already have a comment from GeekoTest. Thank you, GeekoTest, providing us the additional information from automatic investigation jobs that the retry job already showed that it's fine. So just retriggering the job would likely make it work out fine again. But the So the retry job already showed that a test regression is unlikely because it's sporadic, and the investigate versus the last good is still scheduled, so not yet running yet, but no test regression is expected because there are simply no changes in tests since the last good. What we can do here is show the help text. And the help text describes here in this new block the special format which allows to forcefully override the result of a job using a comment. The expected format is label colon, and label colon is something that is generic that can be already used and is already used in some cases. Now with the special keyword force result, we go into that new feature. And then on new result, which is written in italic here, we select the new result which we should have. For example, label force result failed, or label force result soft failed, and some kind of ticket reference or any kind of free text. So label force result, let's rewrite it to soft failed. And then we give a reference. So let's say if our progress ticket number 42 is our reference, then I would give that. Or I could write some text which is either free text or, depending on the instance, it can be configured what the format, which format needs to be followed so that this comment is accepted. This prevents that, people just label tests as passed and there's not even a ticket reference. So the instance admin can select what requirements we have. And I think right now on this instance, we actually need this comment, so it wouldn't work without. So let me try. I submitted that comment. Nothing special happened, but it was accepted. And if I refresh the job now, I can see that it's softwared. And if I go into the build, then I see that obviously the shutdown module is still failed because this didn't change. That's allowed for software. We have this label force result. So we know that someone tinkered with the result here, but it's soft failed. And of course, also then on the group overview, so we see 2 passed and 1 soft failed in the meantime. Now, well, that's it. Yanis.
First of all, does it make sense to be able to modify old tests? So you change the history.
Yeah,
this is a concern.
I could go into that list and say I can go to a result from a month ago and add a comment there and effectively change the result of that test. That's true. So this is not prevented, but what we need here is operator permissions. So it's not every user can do that. And in principle, an operator permission, an operator could already change old job results over the API. The only thing that we do now is make it a little bit more accessible over the UI, but only by enforcing certain things. So for traceability, what we have now is we have changed the result, but we can ask like, weird, what's that little thing? And we can see that there's a label first result. And if I take a look here, then I see like, oh, okay, it was all good, changing that, forcing the results to soft failed. Now maybe I want to be evil, I want to be malicious, and I want to say, I'm changing the result and afterwards I'm deleting my comment, right? I can do that. So do I want to delete a comment? Yes, but I'm not allowed to delete this comment because then we would lose our trace. So yeah, there's some protection here. Okay, so the next one, let me see, what was it? Yeah, Pavel.
Yeah, a question. If you will change a status of some older jobs, then in that list of the previous runs, you don't see the text, right? So you don't see from that list of previous runs which of those historical runs was tampered with.
We can see that. So here we can see that there's a single comment. Okay. What you don't see over shared screen, this is a bit unfortunate. If I hover over that symbol, which is a different symbol, it shows a pop-up which says label force result. Okay. And even if I would, let me show you. So I'm going here. So I'm changing that label first result soft failed. I'm trying foo, and yeah, okay, foo is allowed as a format. Maybe it does make sense, but you know, for now we allow that. Now I'm going back to the latest job, and if I now look back into the history, then I will find there's also this job which has some kind of special symbol, so you can become suspicious, right? And also, I mean, we know that this module failed because, you know, only failed modules show up. So we still know that. Okay, good. Next one was Jose.
Yeah, so I'm gonna post here in the chat because I'm gonna repeat this comment I did 20 days ago in the ticket, so everyone can have a look at this ticket. But I will just repeat the same as I said.
Yep, please
So
do.
this feature is nice, but in the end, it's doing the same as the TTM ignore, because in the end, I mean, for special cases, this is just fine because just change the result in the database and go for it. But if we want to say um, we want to release automatically and use this release bot for maintenance updates, for example, I think this is a mistake because we are masking failures. And by masking, I'm meaning that red dots turn into green things. Dots, okay? So you don't see the red mark in openQA anymore. You just see green. And then when you see green, you ignore it. You just don't care. It's green. It's working. If we have the TTM approach, which leaves the test red, but it just adds some label like TTM ignore thingy, then our release bot will ignore this failure, but we will still see it red. So I think having this feature for automatic releases and maintenance is dangerous because we might forget about this, you know, uh, fake results that we are,
Yeah.
doing with this label.
Yep. Thank you
So
for
this
that.
is my opinion.
Thank you for that concern.
And
It's pretty valid, and I agree with all the points that maybe mistake. One little thing which I would like to add. The difference to Test Manager, to TTM, is that it's an upstream openQA feature. What you mean with TTM, for the people that don't know, it's called to Test Manager. It's part of GitHub OpenSUSE release tools, which is the main tool set for the distribution work of openSUSE. Yeah, and you can see all different kind of combinations where we have different bots and tools interconnecting. And one central part of that is the two-test manager. Yeah, so okay, not really that visual. What it does is basically it controls the release of openSUSE Tumbleweed builds as well as openSUSE Leap build. As far as I know, it's not used anywhere else, and I would like to use that. I think it's a very good approach. If it's better, I don't know yet. The limits is that it's another active component that you need to put somewhere and it needs to run somewhere. And the difference here is an upstream openQA feature which maybe can link into the same, but also I think they are not conflicting, so both can be used in parallel. Okay, but let's hear some other voices. So Weigao, go ahead, please.
Yes, I just thinking if I put this kind of loads, I just make a mistake. I need to remove my mistake. How to do that? I see you
Right.
cannot remove these kind of things.
Yeah, what you can actually do is you can update the comment, and by updating you can remove the result again. The user feedback there is not perfect, so I can update that. I can let me try to bring it back to the previous one. Okay, so I'm saying failed again. I'm kind of repairing what we had in before. Now it's failed as originally. I can still not remove it, but now I can update the comment and then I can remove it. And now everything looks as pristine as in the starting situation. We still have a trace of that in the audit log. So we still know if some things like, where is it here, the audit log. So we still know that someone tinkered with the job, even though that eventually nothing was changed. So you see here the job update result. That event is there and it records that information. So who was next? Yeah, so you need to relabel to make it green again. So it was failed, and I put it back here to failed. Basically, every result is allowed. By the way, what if I do something like invalid? Like this. This also couldn't be added. I still have a pull request open where I want to improve the user feedback, basically changing the message to something that is explaining more what's going on here, because maybe bad request isn't exactly clear. The reason why this is not accepted is because invalid is not one of our accepted results. Okay, Pavel.
One more rather technical question. If I will go and change a state of a job in a build, and then I will go to the list of builds, and that build will I see from the list of the builds that the particular build contains a job with changed status?
Yeah.
If no, I would add this.
That's a good point. What we can see is here that there are comments, and with comments we don't distinguish anymore. So it's a good idea. What we could say is make it more explicit on this level, maybe a different comment, maybe a different color, different hover text or something like this, to know, careful, these are not the original results but changed results. right? This is what you have in mind?
Yes, please. That would be, because
That's a good idea.
the thing which we do in our team is that we review our jobs daily, but each week this duty depends on another person.
Yes.
So if it's on Monday and I start my reviews, I go to the list and I see the jobs from last week if there was something red, and but if I will see that last week everything was all right, I should be notified that actually maybe was not because something was marked as
Right.
but was not. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Other comments or questions? Yeah, Phoenix. Go on.
Good morning. I missed one step in the middle. How did you remove the comment, the false result soft failure? Because in the example that you showed before, that was not possible because it was prohibited.
Yeah, I
or
cheated.
forbidden.
So what I did is force result passed and who? And now the job is passed and we have that comment to explain that. So I cannot remove it, right? What I
Yes.
can do is I can update the comment to remove that and replace it with some other mustn't be empty, so like a single dot so that it's not empty, and then I updated the comment, and then now I can delete it. And now this is a bit, let's say, this is a bit evil if you go that route, because now it's not obvious here why is the job passed, because there's no comment anymore. We still have a failed module. This is something that we cannot change. The module shutdown failed. This will not change. Normally, the overall job result will be computed to be failed as soon as at least one module failed. Yeah, we still have a trace in the audit log. So if we would find a trace like that and say like, hey, Ollie, what are you trying to do here? Do you try to cheat? So what I recommend doing is to say, if you want to do that, if you made a mistake, then, well, reset it to failed, and then only then remove it again. Okay, because
Okay.
then we can bring back the job result like that.
Can I ask a very mean question at this point?
Yeah.
Do you leave this path open intentionally, or is it just difficult to close this loophole?
I leave it open intentionally.
Yeah. Okay.
Because my experience, it would not be hard to close it. We have user authentication, we have different roles, we could add more roles, we could say that maybe only admins are allowed to do that, or that we separate the groups even more, or that we say, I don't know, whenever we add a comment like there, we add a big fat notice on top. That might be a potential future addition. It's all actually not really hard to do. But my experience is that most of you are moderators or admins on instances, and you had been, I trust that all of you are nice people. You all want to collaborate together. You had so much power over the past years, and there is nobody that really showed malicious intent to, fake results, because you could, for years, you could have overwritten job results, which is actually not that hard, to be green all over, or delete all the failed jobs. Yay, everything that is left is green. But okay, maybe you didn't know about it, and maybe from now on everything will go downhill because you know that you can do all this stuff over the API. Still, we would see it in the audit logs. Okay, but so yeah, I see the possibility for newer workflows. This is why I do not want to close down such. Next one, Jose first.
I'm not sure if there was someone else before, but yeah. Anyway, first technical question. So if I label recently failed job, that just happened, and then it's red, and I consider it sporadic. Then I change the result to green. When there is a new build of or new job triggered in that yeah, thread, will it actually carry over this label, or will it just start from scratch?
Very
you
good.
need to
Thank
relabel
you
if needed.
for reminding me. I did not mention that part yet. Labels are not carried over, and therefore the results are also not carried over. It means if it fails again, it will be failed. It will not have a comment. It will not have first result. There, the usual approaches apply, that you can use a normal ticket reference carryover, because ticket references are the things that do carry over. Labels do not, by intention. Or you need to do the game again. And of course, if you need to do that 3 times, that should become so annoying that you say, like, okay, maybe it's better to actually fix the test, or, you know, introduce a soft fail, or somehow handle it in other tooling like TTM or QA maintenance, bot approaches and such. At the point here where I see this thing applicable is, take, for example, the maintenance tests, where we do have test results which are from, let's say, 10 days ago, okay? And they hadn't been reviewed since then. Of course, it would be better to fix the tests, but that would mean that, yeah, you need to reiterate all the tests, invalidate the previous results. Something else could fail. But someone is asking you, could you please help to release that update like today? Okay. And what happens currently in processes is that informally people need to overwrite job results already. So effectively, they ignore existing failures when they force the release of an update, and afterwards we do not even have a trace of which failed job results they accepted as such and still released a product. And this is also why we came up with that feature, to say, make it a bit more obvious by making it soft failed. Okay, so that some automation can kick in and say, like, okay, there's only a soft failed left. I will still release, but then we know which reviewer made what decision to mark failure as a known ignorable issue. Okay, Jose?
Yeah.
Yannis?
Yes, thank you. And sorry, before I finish, yeah, so I would like to actually discuss about integrating this feature into the maintenance workflow for SDD.
Right.
I would like really to discuss it in the QA Sync call on Wednesdays, because that, I guess, needs also some words from managers.
Yeah, we have some time here, so let's discuss a bit here and then do a follow-up there. Yannis?
Yeah, my colleague already asked most of my concerns. I have a bunch of, I'm going to shoot you with a bunch of things. First of all, why this is more a convenience than just a checkbox?
So you would you like to have a checkbox rather than a comment field?
I was wondering if this is more practical in a way that is
using special comments.
Maybe with a comment, but a checkbox instead of
right.
The other thing I'm gonna tell you all because I'm gonna forget. The other thing is, like, what other filters you can pass, or like, for example, can you say ignore, make it for the whole build, or yeah, if you could, an idea could be also ignore it for 10 days or something.
Right, okay.
So you don't need to mark it all the time, again and again.
Yes, I haven't considered that, honestly. Yeah, okay, so my approach here would be the following, that with the feature in place like it is right now, I would like to collect some feedback, and based on that, especially the part of how easy or how hard it is to use that, I would like to learn just from experience. So, you know, I did not want to make it too easy from the beginning so that it's like completely overused and everything else then is overlooked. But I just wanted to add something which fits in the middle, you know, in the middle between labels that carry over for failed results and on the other hand, turning results into soft fail by actually applying changes in the test code. So something in the middle there. I didn't want to make a feature that replaces all the other stuff, but something that fits into the bigger basket of tools. Okay?
Yeah, but in general, if something fails in Podman in Codeines, it's gonna fail possibly on other tests as well, other groups.
Right.
So you want to ignore all of them in some build, or if you know. So what other filters can you pass to this label?
You cannot pass other filters than just the result for the single job. In the example that you mentioned, I would recommend to use the auto review approach, which means you have a certain text in the log file, in the audience log file that you can match on and label all according job failures with the according ticket. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And regarding your first question, so making it a checkbox. Yeah, in principle, we could also change the UI. I want to select this comment approach because we already have the concept of bare comments, like plain comments, labels, and ticket references. Ticket references are heavily used. Bare comments, like this one, are also used. But labels, I felt, is a feature that is a bit less used than the others. So I wanted to introduce a use case where we could use this labels, which basically can be defined as conventions. Defined as conventions in your groups. For example, every one of you could say, we use label : foobar to mean something within your team. You can do that. You don't need any changes in upstream openQA. You can just put that label somewhere and then query the API for all jobs that have that label. Additionally, I wanted to give the possibility to ask for a description and even make that mandatory so that, you know, you cannot just overwrite a result, but you need to give an explanation, like a ticket reference here. And that's one more thing. And third, that we want to record which user did that. We could have done that with a checkbox, but then, you know, then afterwards for displaying it, you would need to add another text which says, or Kurz added the first result label, and then implement all these things of you want to update it, you want to delete it, you want to you know, find out where that had been put, and this would be more or less ending up with the same as the comment streams. Okay. So let me ask you in a short session, you can show thumbs up or thumbs down or give +1 or -1 in the chat. You who thinks who will try out and use that feature in the near future to try it out? You show a thumbs up or +1, or if you think like, nah, I'd rather not use it because I'm too scared of the consequence and rather not use it. So some feedback from you guys.
I'm gonna start again because I have to add something. I would like to use it and test it, but what I would like to see if there is any progress to do this. It will, when you open the test and you go to the failing panel, right, which says fail.
Yep.
On a test, you have at the top right, you have this icons that says, to create a bug or I would like to have something there to create this. You see what I mean?
Yeah, you mean
So
like
if you,
here or here, where you have a
yes,
button to
to
click.
have some, yes.
I see.
And I think even if it was a checkbox, it could be linked to a label and create a label directly, right?
Right. Yeah,
Or something.
I see that now. That sounds useful because we then have the link to the specific step, and it's like, okay, this step is what you want to address with a label. Okay, I can see that Akavayal is using specific emoji hand icons. That's nice. One else? The decision of ignoring failure should be rather on the level of release, but not by faking results. Okay. So let's think about it. If we use that based on specific processes. So for the openQA and openQA tests, what we have is we have a pipeline that installs openQA only if the openQA and openQA test results are green. Sorry, don't have any failures. I think we would accept soft failures as such, as is common as in most other cases, that if there's a soft failure, we would still deploy a new version of openQA stack on our instances. Because this job fails now, the deployment what likely was stopped depending on timing. And now what could happen is that people say like, it's a sporadic issue, let's retrigger. And I know that this happens. Don't deny that, guys. You do that. I know it, and I honestly don't think it's a good approach, because by that, if it turns out to be passed, which is likely because the investigation comment already told us that it's likely going to pass, we will have a green test result. But there's no difference in marking that job, that individual job, already specifically as a sporadic failure that should be ignored for the release criteria. Because in the end, we still have a sporadic issue that needs to be addressed, and we still have some jobs that fail, and we would just paint it green basically by either retrying or forcing result. The difference is that we don't need to wait for the job to turn out green to give us the same result. Pavel?
What about in that case? Because yeah, I agree with you. That sounds interesting. What about showing in the list of tests if the test was or was not restarted?
Yeah. So
Something like that.
right in the next and previous results, we see the jobs that had been restarted. For example, you see here that for the same build, right, we have 3 job incarnations. So there originally was an incomplete, there was another incomplete, and then was retriggered, and then it was failed. And we also see that here that this failed is a clone of a previous job. So this job 199,523 is the previous incomplete job 199,523. That one. So we already show if it's a clone, or do you mean something different, Pavel?
No, I meant if you open the build, then
right. So let me go
there,
to
in that list you don't.
this build. The test overview, or you mean the job group overview?
The test overview. No, the job group overview.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Right. And you mean also like an additional icon to show some jobs have been retriggered?
Yeah, I meant something like that, but we should not have, at the end 20 icons,
Yeah,
right? So
that's
yeah.
the point exactly. So far I don't see. Yeah, it would be nice to have that information, but I think it's not really helpful in most cases to have it on that level.
Or maybe in a pop-up. So if you hover
Right, okay, okay,
the
right.
result,
To have some information
then
like some jobs have
now
been
you see
cloned.
that,
Mhm.
now see you that it was, for example, soft failed, but you would see soft failed, comma, restarted 3 times or something like that,
Okay,
But yeah,
yep.
it's a smaller visual suggestion that
Right,
has
let
nothing
me
else.
note that down. On job group overview in pop-up records times of how many jobs have been restarted, if any. And what was the second thing that you suggested? Oh yeah, also if some jobs have forced results, right?
Yes, in the list of builds, that is, in my opinion, more important and more relevant in today's topic.
Yep.
If I see the list of the builds, then in that list I should see that the particle build contains a job or multiple jobs
Yep.
which are, yeah,
Right.
modified
Okay, good.
status.
Next one,
Yeah.
Phoenix.
Thank you.
So now I have 2 points here. The first point is why I don't like to make the decision of overwriting the test results on the level of openQA. And the reason why I believe this is the wrong place, except for, let's say, exceptional situation, is that you lose information. If you have a job failure for, let's say, 3 times in a row, then this is a signal that the automatic process, let's say the maintenance release bot, can take at some point and or fire a signal that triggers the people in order to ignore those tests. And if you just mark those tests as soft failing and passing, you eliminate the possibility of collecting those failures and reacting to them. This is the reason why I believe ignoring failures or marking them as soft failed or passed is a good possibility, but as a possibility of integrating it in the general flow, we risk that we are losing information which might turn out to be very useful in other places. It could work, but it's not as elegant as really marking something as failed and still as ignoring. And was that point clear?
Yeah,
Because it was a
right.
complex one. Okay.
No,
And
it's
the
good. Thank you. Mhm.
Yeah, and the second point about re-triggering the jobs, just as a comment here, at least in the squads where I am there, 90% of the reasons why we re-trigger jobs are known issues of net because of the network. SEC sporadic failures where I really don't know how to address them, then restarting the job. Super downloads, timeouts, also there. What should you do there? Or race conditions where the download repositories were updated while
Yeah.
the test runs. Also there.
Phoenix, I think I assume from my experience in your area, you mainly retrigger for known issues that in parallel you already work on to improve. Like, if you have a problem accessing repositories, I think you have it planned to actually improve the situation while, you need to handle the jobs that failed today, but in parallel you have a ticket to improve that. Is that correct?
The problem is that I have no idea how to fix network issues on that level, or how to fix SCC failures, which are very common.
Right. So retriggering on all the different levels is the correct approach. Okay, the one scenario which I mentioned is the case of job failed. I don't know what happened. I don't want to investigate. I don't want to improve. I will just manually retrigger. And that is, I think, the worst, because by that we are wasting human time as well as a bit of the automation resources that we have, and we are actually not improving. Okay, retrying within openQA test we can do on so many different levels. You could, at best, you can give commands a retry, and Zipper already, at least in the interactive mode, it retries. Every time there is something with network, of course, it makes sense to retry. In some cases, go on.
The problem with that approach is that we have a set of issues where you just simply don't know, and most of them disappear by restarting. And the problem that arises there is that you don't know which ones are worth investigating and which not.
Yeah.
The problem that we have there, and this perhaps is a region where we can make improvements, is, for instance, in public cloud, just some tests failing because the cloud service providers suck. However, there are a set of failures that repeat, but it's very difficult to filter those out, because one time they happen in Azure, one time they happen in Google Cloud Engine, and whatsoever. And this is the region where we perhaps can think about improvements. If there is a way of collecting similar failures throughout one or multiple job groups and mark them as I have seen this already 2 or 3 times, this kind of gives us a signal, okay, perhaps this is really a failure where it is worth investigating the root cause.
Right. Yes. So we already have, so what we have is the reason field, which so far we use for incomplete. So in case of, really severe issues, which are not on the level of tests, but rather on the level of openQA infrastructure and the backends, there we already have that mean by having the reason field, and we can query like which reason appeared which often, or on which worker, in which job groups, on which architecture and such. Mm-hmm. For failed jobs, the best approach which I can offer you right now is that with this auto review approach. So what I mean is this one here in auto scripts, auto review. For that, you need to come up with a regex. Okay, so of course you need to have that first step to define like what defines my error as a regex in the log file. But based on that, what you can then do is you can put this into this text into your ticket, and then I have a single script which I think so far needs access to the database, but I think in many cases that's possible for you. You can say like, okay, after some time, when I put that regex into tickets, I can find out how many times or which jobs have my ticket as a label. Okay, and by that you can find out like, it's always happening on, I don't know, openQA worker 42, or on this architecture, or only with this cloud provider, or always in the night, something like this, right? And by that, gather better statistics. Having it more generic to say openQA would tell you similar failures, it's a bit tricky because we don't know from openQA point of view what defines a failure. We time out on a needle match, or we time out in some kind of script call. Should we say whenever zipper times out, is it the same failure, or is it only the same failure when it happens in a cloud environment? And that needs you as the domain experts to.
There is one way, because those failures that I'm looking at typically happen in the same test case, just scattered across the job groups. If there are 3 failures and all of them fail exactly in the hypothetical test module, I don't know, spark.io at the same step, then that is kind of a clear signal.
Right, and this is what, if you have that regex up front, then auto review would tell you it always happening in this module, or always happening in this scenario, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not going as far as being more intelligent and saying like, hey guys, openQA, like openQA talking to you and say like, hey guys, this error is happening very often, always happening in this scenario, maybe a good indication to further investigate, right? That could be a point for improvement. Okay, I would like to address the comment from Jose in chat. So currently we have two options to make the release bot pass: unschedule the test or hard-coded software in code. There are more aggressive or evil ways than that. For example, you could just, I don't know, delete all failed jobs or forcefully move them to another job group, like the development job group. That would work even retroactively. But now we have this feature. All of them are dangerous, I agree, in different levels. Why not make the release bot smart, just like TTM? We can start with ignoring entire job. We can make it even smarter later on with ignoring only specific updates. Yeah. There are multiple reasons why not make release bot smarter. One reason is because the release bot, what you're talking about, likely so far is only what is called within SUSE is an internal development. So far it's not a public open source project, which is called QA maintenance bot in G. That one concerns only SUSE maintenance updates, and we are looking into that. I plan to have that improved, but so far the SUSE QE Tools team struggles to improve the code base. So this is one reason. Another reason is that I'm favoring solutions which are applicable to more products and is usable by all openQA users, not just SUSE internally. And a third reason is that the release bot so far, they need to run somewhere. So someone needs to set up that active component somewhere. You need some kind of VM or a container which you need to run somewhere, which would be next to openQA, and that's doesn't scale as well as having this possibility built into upstream openQA, because we can apply that review process already on the level of you look into openQA and you need to give it some comments. At any point, we could switch the process and say we don't use label force result, but we use label whatever your own convention comes up with, and then use your own tooling or other release bots. If you have good solutions for external release tools that you want to integrate, cool. I would be very happy to hear about them. But this is the reason why we are not making the release bot smarter. Does that make sense, Jose?
The first concern you have, I think it's just a matter of time or resources. So
yes, yeah. As I said, we have it planned. For me, it was easier, cheaper, and more scalable to implement that feature in openQA rather than. In the meantime, I'm forcing the team to learn about BotNG, but we are not there yet. Okay, so yeah, time. We would have needed to wait longer for a comparable feature, and in the meantime, I wanted to have something here.
I mean, just a bit skeptical because, yeah, we have seen this DTM working pretty well with releases, and yeah, why not just copying that? But yeah, I mean, resources is a problem, but that can be solved in the some near future if we involve managers, if we see that this is a better solution than this. But yeah, that's why I would like to involve line managers especially. But yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. I mean, but I'm not 100% with this to adopt this to the workflow.
It's good that you're careful.
I'm not 100% convinced, but yeah, and let's see. I would like to also see opinion from everyone, and I heard a bit some of them, so I'm good. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Any last additions by anyone? No? Okay, very good. So for the next week workshop, it will be again the first Friday of a month. I will be in vacation, and Marius Kittler gladly agreed to be a stand-in product owner, and he will also present our roadmap. So the recent achievements that we had done over the last months, the immediate plan for the upcoming weeks, as well as the longer outlook. So looking forward to see that later, the SUSE QE Tools Roadmap 2021-11. See you then, or at a later time. Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.